Okay, friends, imagine this. You are juggling a million things, but still you're managing to keep it all together. But you are also at the brink of not keeping it together. So you kind of just keep going, but then you're also feeling overwhelmed. And then you see a bunch of things on social media and you're like, wait, is there something deeper going on than just simply having a busy schedule? In this episode, I will be diving into the difference between high functioning depression and feeling overwhelmed. Together, we will break down what each one looks like, why recognizing the difference matters, and most importantly, how you can take action to protect your mental well being. So, grab a cup of tea, water, coffee, shake, whatever floats your boat, take a deep breath, and let's get to it. Hi, everyone. You are listening to Beyond, and I'm your host, Dr. Flora. Listen, life is hard. You don't have to do it alone. As a mindset coach, physician, mom, and an infertility warrior, I have mastered techniques to help move you towards contentment and growth. I can't wait to go along with this crazy-ass life journey with you while making sure you feel like your best self. This podcast is meant to have you feel unstuck from your rut and less alone. Let's do this. Welcome back, everyone, to the Beyond podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Flora. I enjoyed writing today's episode because I want to continue to openly talk about depression. I want to continue this conversation with a deeper understanding. With buzzwords like mental wellness, mindset, self-care, anxiety, mental burden, it's really important to make sure we are using these words with their true intention and not because they are just trendy. The more we hear about these words floating around, the more we get confused. Like, does that pertain to me? Do I have anxiety? Do I carry a large mental burden? Am I doing self-care right? Well, hopefully by the end of this episode, you all will have a better understanding of how to tell the difference between overwhelm and depression, and maybe a few things in between, plus how to deal with each. And at the end of this episode, I have tips that only a doctor who treats depression, who has depression, can give you. So you definitely don't want to miss that part. I think we all have felt something within this spectrum of low mood. So pass this episode to your friends and family. Post about it on social media. Please, together, let's normalize talking about this without judgment and shame and with a better education. Okay, so overwhelm. I know you felt this before. Like, a ton of tabs open in our brains, a ton of tabs waiting to be opened in our brains. You're tired, you're working during the week. There are things planned every weekend, birthday parties, school activities, social gatherings, work team building stuff, all while doing daily life things which keep us busy as it is. Like thinking about what to make for dinner is the most annoying thought I have at all hours of the day. Many of my coaching clients come to me with feelings of being overwhelmed and feeling out of control. One prevention tip that I give them, and I'm going to give you, is find your burnout season. I encourage you to be aware of your seasons of overwhelm. Break it into days, weeks, months, years. For example, what time of day is the most overwhelming for you? What about the day of the week? What about part of the year? Like, my most overwhelming day of the week is probably Thursday because the week is almost over and I have this irrational thought that I didn't get enough done and now I'm running out of time. So then, just like my coaching client and now you, I ask myself, why? And how can I change the way I think about my productivity and not let that thought allow me to spiral? That's where the coaching comes in. There is an objective accountability partner helping you rewire this mindset. So let's chat about another example. Mine and Sanjay's stress season is the fall. Starting in October, we have a running list of important events and people we devote ourselves to. It all starts with my birthday, then Navratri, then Diwali, then Thanksgiving, Christmas, travel, family, Sanjay's birthday. I mean, before we know it, it's February of the next year, and we haven't given ourselves a break because we just had too many things on our plate that we wanted to prioritize. So, a long, long time ago, we recognized this and we started putting up our boundaries during our most overwhelmed season. We don't have to say yes to everything. We also started blocking out time by the end of January, beginning of February for family time. And it serves as a break to help prevent the burnout. So I am sure you all can recognize this overwhelming feeling, right? Everything that I just mentioned, I'm sure you have your own busy days of the week, busy seasons. Feeling overwhelmed usually stems from having too many commitments or responsibilities in a short period. It's temporary. Once that season ends, once our schedule eases up, once we build in breaks, we can recharge and we feel better. So overwhelm is too much on your plate and it is resolved with time management or rest. This should be us every day, gauging what to put on or take off our plates depending on how overwhelmed we are feeling. It's worth taking the time to self-reflect and being aware of your mental and physical signs of overwhelm so you are able to prevent not only losing control, but also help you feel comfortable with unexpected chaos. Like, are your shoulders tense? Are you irritable? Is your ability to accommodate clutter diminishing? Are you feeling more tired or sleepier than normal? Or are you not sleeping as well? Do you have headaches, gut issues, joint aches, muscle aches that are new? Whatever it may be, identify and keep track of your overwhelmed symptoms so you can build in breaks, practice your boundaries, and have the bandwidth for those life obstacles. So overwhelm is kind of self-explanatory. We talked about how to identify them. We talked about how to pivot, how to prep for it, and where coaching can absolutely play a role. Now, high-functioning depression is different. If feeling overwhelmed is like a browser with too many tabs open that is running slow but still responding, high-functioning depression is like a browser frozen on the same screen, stuck, but pretending to work. You all know that spinning animated icon that shows up when your screen is frozen. Sometimes your computer is just thinking and it moves on to the next thing, but other times your computer is pretending to think, pretending that it's working in the background while that stupid thing keeps spinning in your face and then nothing happens. It's frozen. That is high-functioning depression. Now, also totally off topic. As I was writing this episode, I found out that that spinning icon is actually termed a throbber. I don't know about you all, but my mind went to, okay, anyway, I'm not going to use that term. I'm just going to continue calling it the spinning icon. Anyway, high-functioning depression is not a formal medical diagnosis, but depression looks so different in every person, right? It's not one-dimensional, and high-functioning depression is a way clinical depression can present in some people, like it did with me. We often see this go undiagnosed because this type of depression in women looks like they're managing everything, their daily responsibilities, their kids, their family, the to-dos, while experiencing chronic low levels of depression. And remember, chronic low levels of depression is still major depression. This refers to anyone who's grappling with mental health issues while accomplishing their day-to-day tasks and upholding their responsibilities. Women with high-functioning depression seem productive. They're killing it at work. They're showing up to their social activities. They're putting makeup on. They're doing all the things. But burnout or dissatisfaction or this feeling of dread often looms beneath the surface of all of the productivity and success. So high-functioning depression in women may appear that they are fine on the outside, but they're struggling internally. And this is when there needs to be medical advice, help, treatment, resources. And even then, it often goes missed or unrecognized by the medical team or even the person affected because things are fine. Things are getting done. This is how it's supposed to be. Life is hard. I mean, God, culture, society, social media, all of that tells us because productivity is good. We are told that productivity is good. We often praise productivity. We often equivalate doing it all to being better than the next person. On the flip side, this gives us and others permission to dismiss or ignore emotional struggles. It can also present with emotional disconnections that strain friendships, partnerships, family dynamics. I mean, it happened to me. Because of my discomfort, because of my depression, I distanced myself because I just didn't have the energy or the confidence or the capacity to interact. And then that led to others thinking that I don't want to be included or I didn't have my shit together because I didn't. Or I wasn't interested or I was being rude or standoffish. And then that led to me not being contacted or included. And then that just fed into my depressive cycle. So just as an FYI, as an observer, this is something to keep in mind if you notice a gradual change in behavior in someone around you. Instead of avoiding and assuming because conflict can be uncomfortable, reach out. Keep the lines of communication open. It's the best thing you can do, and you never know when someone is suffering. With high functioning depression, even when those responsibilities ease, even when you take the break, the emotional heaviness lingers. So high functioning depression is this persistent emotional exhaustion that needs deeper attention, like therapy and a medical doctor. Symptoms of high functioning depression can also overlap with just typical depression, also known as major depression, that we're all familiar with, like feeling sad, helpless, hopeless, being disinterested in things that used to bring you joy, changes in eating habits like eating too much, eating too little, trouble sleeping or sleeping too much, difficulty concentrating, negative thoughts about yourself, about others. It's a long list and it can be overwhelming and it can be hard to objectively evaluate yourself. So, what can you do about this? Let's first start with preventing the overwhelm, which can then prevent these mental health downfalls. Number one, set boundaries. Y'all know I love my boundaries. These are crucial for mental peace. Now remember, boundaries are not walls. They are bridges. They are invisible lines to help guide you and protect your peace and avoid burnout and declutter your brain so you can build these bridges for relationships. If you want more info about boundaries, I have plenty of podcast episodes about them. Go ahead and search through the Beyond podcast. And if you need even more help, that's where coaching comes in. Now, the second thing is to self-reflect. Now, this is an entire category of a bunch of different things: meditation, gratitude, learning how to prioritize without spiraling, checking in with yourself regularly, building in micro breaks, macro breaks, learning your patterns of overwhelm and knowing what works for you. Again, plenty of podcast episodes about it. And again, if you need a coach, that's where you contact me. The third one is to move. Now, when I talk about exercise, I usually break it into 3 different buckets. The first one is not being sedentary. Clinically, that means getting more than 5,000 steps a day and not sitting for longer than 90 minutes at a time. I know that's hard, especially if you work from home or if you have a desk job. The second bucket is cardio. Get moving, get that heart rate going, get the heart pumping. Now, it doesn't have to be this crazy high intensity, high impact exercise. Remember, walking uphill for 30 minutes will get the heart pumping enough to count it as moderate intensity exercise. That counts as cardio. And the third bucket, especially for my women above the age of 25, 35 for sure, but I say 25 because building habits take time. Strength training, lift heavy stuff. Start with one bucket, master it, move on to the next. Because movement releases endorphins, and that in itself combats stress and depressive symptoms. The next thing is sleep. Work on good sleep hygiene, you guys. It's hard. I know we are all addicted to screens and it's all around us, but no screens 1 hour before bedtime. Don't eat large meals 2 hours before bedtime. Have a physical, even a sensory clue and wire your brain to ensure there's a signal to it like, hey, it's bedtime. It's time to calm that brain down. So screens off, lights dim, temperature lowering to help with good quality sleep. The next tip is nutrition. Nutrition. Let me just make this simple. Whole grains, nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables, legumes, lean protein like turkey, fish, chicken should make up your nutrition plan. Limit your red meat, processed sugar, and processed flour. That's white sugar and white flour. So all the yummy, good stuff in the middle aisles of your grocery store, most likely that's filled with processed crap. A lot of the peripheral parts of grocery stores have the fresh produce, have the protein, have the grains. Just make sure you check off those nutrition boxes. Now, this last one is more to prepare you for the future if your mental health does not go according to plan. So I hope you have something to write this down because this is really, really important. Make sure you have all of this down regardless of where you are in your mental health journey. Even if you are feeling perfectly fine, you're killing it in life, you have a wonderful support system, you're doing all the things with sleep and nutrition and diet and exercise and self-check-ins, make sure you have these steps down. So if for whatever reason your health takes a turn, you at least don't have to do these steps. Step number 1, make sure you have a primary care doctor. Do you know how many people out there don't have a primary care doctor, or at least a doctor that they see one regularly? Make sure you are seeing your primary care physician at least once a year. Because, okay, I'm going to go on like a little rant for a little bit because this is a very big pet peeve of mine. So in my clinical practice, when a patient comes out of nowhere that I haven't seen in like 3, 4, 5 years, and they're demanding to be seen like tomorrow for an issue that I know no background info about because I haven't seen them in years, I will likely need to see them in person for an evaluation. But wait, in some practices, including mine, if you haven't seen your primary care doctor in 3 or more years, you are considered a new patient. And do you know that new patient appointments are often set to be longer than regular follow-up appointments, which means those longer appointments are harder to come by, which means it takes you longer to get into your PCP. So, rant over. Keep in touch with your primary. Even if it is just to see them once a year for your annual physical, which is preventative care, it's important to have that ongoing trusting relationship, even if you are completely healthy. Tip number 2, make sure you are familiar with your insurance. Many commercial insurance plans have apps, like apps for your phone. This makes it so incredibly easy to find providers within your network because it's just a semi-simple search. And if you don't have an app, all of these commercial insurance plans have websites which have the same function. They make it really easy. And if they don't have an app or if you're not familiar with it, a lot of these commercial insurance plans have websites with the same purpose to filter your searches to help you find providers within your network. It's not 100% straightforward. It's not a simple search, but it's a lot better than looking up what your plan is or calling and waiting and being transferred 5 million times. Go online or download the app and make sure you're familiar with each. And the last one, make sure you are familiar with the mental health coverage within your insurance plan. Because yes, there may be insurance plans that will not cover mental health. So again, these three things are important to line up and be aware just in case you start feeling off your baseline. Because guess what? Doing all of this work while you are feeling like shit is really, really hard. And oftentimes, as your mood goes downward and your overwhelm goes upward, people usually abandon tasks. And we don't want that to happen to you. Okay, so that list was to prevent and to prepare. What do you do if you are depressed? I think the first step, if you don't have a therapist or a psychiatrist, go to your primary care doctor. Your primary care physician is trained to take on anything and help triage, treat, build your medical team of specialists if your condition calls for it. They are a great starting point and can really help navigate through a potential diagnosis, treatment plan, and help you build resources. Okay, so let's just say your primary care doctor is booked out for months, because let's not forget our medical system is broken and we're all working within it. Ask if you can see their colleague or a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant, or do a virtual visit. And I'm now thinking this part should have gone into the prevent and prepare, but some insurance companies will offer free virtual visits through their insurance. They have a whole team of medical providers just doing virtual visits. So no, it's not your own primary care doctor, but again, you can still get care, because there is a chance that you can be seen much sooner. And no, it may not be your doctor, but some help is better than no help. Now, remember that tip about your insurance application or website? Well, it can also help you find a therapist. If you are mentally feeling off your norm, go to your insurance app or website and search one up. Now, if all of this seems too overwhelming for you, please remember you don't have to do this alone. Ask your partner, kid, family member. Ask for help. They can do simple things like helping you search for providers, making appointments, putting it into your calendar, helping you delegate tasks. Maybe you need to take some time off of work or some vacation or something to help get help for your mental health. Now, if you can't find the perfect therapist or doctor, remember it's okay. Remember, some treatment is better than none. So getting an earlier appointment may be your priority, and you can get that earlier appointment, get some help while continuing to search for a better match if you need to. Hi, I hope you took notes, and I hope you are passing this episode to someone else. I hope you're posting it on social media so more people will listen to it, because the key to all of this is awareness, whether it's you or someone you know. So if you've been feeling off for a while and you can't shake it, know that you're not alone and help is available. And if you are simply overwhelmed, use the tools that I mentioned earlier in this episode to lighten your load. Either way, prioritizing your mental health is the ultimate act of self-care. Don't forget to subscribe to this episode, rate it, review it. This will help me help you. I'd be so grateful. See you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for joining and spending your precious time here with me. As someone who prioritizes her energy, I am so grateful that you chose to spend yours here. To help me help you, please take an extra 30 seconds of your time to rate and review the podcast on your listening platform. For more tips and a behind-the-scenes look into my life, follow me on Instagram at Dr. Flora Sinha. That's Dr. Flora Sinha. Finally, connecting with you truly fills my cup. So DM me on Instagram, email me at florasinhamd@gmail.com, repost if you love this episode. I love hearing from you. I am so grateful for you and cannot wait to be back for the next episode. Bye.